Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spill the Tea Radio, where we interview awesome singer songwriters and those who influence their lives. Spill the Tea Radio explores the journey, creativity, and inspiration behind the songs. My next guest is a Toronto based alternative rock artist whose evocative songwriting blends folk roots with a raw punk influenced edge. Drawing inspiration from artists like Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, and Sierra Ferrell, her music explores themes of trauma, mental illness, mental health, and modern womanhood. She has performed at notable Toronto venues and BC's Blackberry Jam Festival, and her Instagram handle is Yee Haw Punk, and we will find out more about that as we spill the tea with Dana Debolt. Welcome, Dana.
Thanks so much, David. Happy to be here.
Dana, we have to talk about Yee Haw Punk. We have to talk about that handle and where that came from. Now, certainly in the intro, we talk about punk influenced music, but
Mhm.
why that one, Yee Haw Punk?
So the Yee Haw Punk, it's both me and it's its own entity. I don't know. I thought it was creative. I thought it was fun. I thought it was memorable, and it's very much me. Like I am punk in at least my attitudes towards the world or different things like that. But also for sure my music influence over the years. I grew up in the early 2000s with all those pop punk bands that kind of set the stage for my love of music. Yeah, and it kind of grew from there.
So, what is punk? I mean, when I think back to we'll call it the origins of punk in the '80s,
Mhm.
and what it meant back then, what is punk? Is that rebellious? Is it a social statement? How do you describe it?
For me, punk is it's an attitude, it's a social statement. Yeah, it's kind of anti-establishment, which is more and more I feel like whether or not you align with punk music, you can certainly be a punk in terms of your political values. And for me, punk is it's just a state of being, I guess, in this world which is changing so rapidly. Just holding to your own values and not succumbing to, social pressures or whatever it may be. That's punk to me.
Let's talk about your background a bit. You went to art school. You studied classical voice at Concordia. Let's talk about the classical voice studying. So you got classical voice and punk, and some people might say, one of these things is not like the other. So how did class studying classical voice help you with your singing career?
Totally. Well, classical voice taught me the fundamentals of music theory, of healthy vocal technique. I had a wonderful teacher in university, Dr. Irene Farrer, and she was just fantastic. And she was totally open to me doing the kind of music that I want to do, um, including, we had our examinations, and sometimes I would play like totally not classical songs like Alanis Morissette with playing guitar. Just kind of going my own path, which she was really helpful with. But also, yeah, the fundamental music teachings really helped me grow as a musician and let me communicate with my other musicians. There's a language in music um, that has been so valuable for me. So.
Does studying classical voice does it help you with your singing as well? Some people that I've talked to that have studied classical voice, they say it's so structured that
Mhm.
sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to let go and be a little bit more fluid. What's been your experience?
So I hear that for sure. I also have a background singing in choirs, so coming to this more rocky music place has been a challenge. Figuring out how to healthily project, how to kind of find my own voice. It's been a challenge, and like there's a lot of kind of technical vocal stuff that I didn't know, like how to healthily belt or this and that. And I'm still learning. It's still a learning curve for me. But, the discipline and just the basic technique, I feel, has really helped me more than it's hindered me, I would say.
You have come from a musical family. Your dad likes to he plays piano and he plays a drum kit, but you have a famous person in your family, Daisy Debolt.
That's right,
Tell
Daisy.
us tell us about Daisy and how her music has influenced you.
Sure. Well, I unfortunately never met her, but she is my great aunt, so that's on my mother's side. So Daisy DeBolt had a kind of famous presence here in Toronto in the folk scene in Yorkville and around there. Um, Fraser and DeBolt is another kind of group she was with, and it's just really cool. Although I never got to meet her, it's cool to know that that's kind of in my lineage, and I kind of imagine that wherever she is, she's, supporting me from the other side with this musical journey I'm on.
When I ask artists about busking, which many artists do throughout their career, sometimes they do it to showcase new music. Other artists have done it because they needed rent money.
Mhm.
You have, and most artists will say, "Yeah, I have busked in a particular spot," but you've done it in Toronto, Montreal, and BC. So
Mhm.
tell us about some of your more memorable experiences when you've been busking in those big cities.
Mhm. Oh yeah, busking. It's fun. It's quite an experience, and you really open yourself up to the public, which can be good and can be bad. I've had some wonderful experiences. I've met some good friends and musicians through that, through hearing me play, and they come up to me and we make our acquaintances. So that's probably my favorite part about busking. It's also just great practice. You can run through your own material, and half the time people aren't listening, half the time they are. But in any case, it's great practice. You get that stage presence going, and you see what kind of is or isn't working, what's getting people's attention, and it's all just feedback for live performance. So
When you were busking, what was the main thrust for doing that, or the main motivation? Was it to showcase new music? Was it just to get out there and perform, or did you need the money?
I would say it was a healthy combination of those three. I had some great days making money, downtown Toronto and Yorkville or some of the kind of wealthier cash areas, which was great. But also, yeah, making connections and just trying to put myself out there. Sometimes I would film myself, so that would be good content too for the online stuff. But yeah, I would say I'm not busking as much these days or at all right now, to be honest. But in my younger days, that definitely helped pay the bills. So,
Did you ever get a 50 or 100?
ah, no, not yet, not yet. I got some 20s, I've been 20s. That's a great question.
You have a memorable story. You've been performing for quite some time. You were on tour in Vienna
Hmm.
with a choir. Tell us about that story. How did you get to Vienna
Yeah.
in a choir to perform?
So, yeah, thank God for my parents really pushing my musical education early on. From the age of 6, I was in the Toronto Children's Chorus here in Toronto, and it's quite a acclaimed choir. And I had the opportunity of playing in all kinds of wonderful venues, Roy Thompson Hall in Toronto, amongst many others. And I even got to go on tour to Europe, including Vienna, and we had this really wonderful concert this one night that everything just kind of clicked. It was one of those musical experiences that's kind of once in a lifetime where everyone's so on it, and at the end of the song, it was just it was dead silent, and we had this roaring standing ovation, and that was one of my most cherished musical memories for sure, for sure.
When that happened to you, did you think to yourself, "Oh, this is what I want to do. I want to have people stand and give me an ovation for the rest of my life."
I would say yes. It was super affirming. And I've seen, photos and videos of myself singing in choirs, and I was always just like all ears, smiling, just having the best time. So I've always known that I wanted to be a singer or a rock star, as I used to say.
When we think about some of the great songwriters, and you've been inspired by some of the greatest that are around, Joni Mitchell and Bob Dylan. When we think about their stories and the songs that they write about, a lot of them do come from pain. They come from, you know, deep, dark, personal experiences. When you think about the discipline that you're studying in, and you mentioned you've gone through some things yourself, is that where the inspiration comes from for you? Is it from those personal experiences that you're writing about, or do you write vicariously?
I would say absolutely it's from those places of pain. I tend to write my music when I'm in the worst states. It's kind of like an alchemizing experience, turning my pain into art. I actually have a song called Pain to Art that's just about that. But yeah, it's for me, it's by putting it out into the world in the form of music, it's no longer trapped inside eating away. I think everyone needs some kind of creative expression, whatever that might be for each individual. But I think it's absolutely essential to, you know, move that pain into something else, create something from it. So for me, that's been the main source of my songwriting, I would say.
How have you seen your music evolve over the years when you think about the first song that you wrote and how your songwriting has changed or evolved in the songs that you're writing today? What evolution have you seen yourself?
I can definitely tell you there's been an evolution. Like when I listen, I mean, the first song I wrote might have been super young. I can't even remember it. I've always kind of sat at the piano at home and just written songs. But when I look back at the songs I was writing, in my teenage years, 18 years old versus now I'm 28, a decade later, I would say the content, the material, the subject matter, and just in general, my writing has matured for the better, and it's more complex, and yeah, it grows with us, right?
Many people say that when they were younger, so you mentioned uh, a decade of career. When they were younger, they write about those things that we experience when we're in our teenage years. First loves, breakups, heartache, those kinds of jealousy.
Mhm.
And then as they move and get older, they start to write about different things.
Mhm.
And, when they're in their 40s, then all of a sudden their children start to inspire
Mhm.
songs for them. Have you seen the same type of thing? Is that how if we can say it, your songwriting has matured?
Yeah, that you hit the nail on the head with that one. When I was 18, it's all about breakup songs and jealousy and kind of menial subject matter. But as I'm getting older, it's a lot more existential, I find. And especially in our current world, there's a lot of unknowns, I find. So, yeah, I'm at the age of potentially, will I have children or not? Or these big questions that I'm having to ask myself. I would say that's what's consuming me these days.
When I think about singer-songwriters, especially in the folk genre, I think about the poets that are there, the people that are telling the stories, the people that are making statements about our social condition and maybe injustices and how they need to be corrected. When you think about your genre and what you write about, is it the responsibility of our artists, of our songwriters, to make those kind of comments and statements to bring attention to what the wrongs are in the world?
That's a great question, David. I feel like responsibility is a heavy word, and a lot of people can, do whatever they want and write whatever they want about. But certainly, historically, it's been the job of artists and kind of the fringe to comment on our world. And I feel personally that that's one of my missions in life. Yeah.
Let's get into one of the songs that Dana wrote. This song was released in May of 2025 and is featured on the album The Yee Haw Punk. Let's take a listen to singer-songwriter Dana Debolt and her song, Ride, Cowboy, Ride.
We emerged from the monochrome, gray city streets, cold as stone. Another day, another dawn. Time ticks, but we ride on. Daddy's voice so monotone. Mother screams and cries and moans. Ride, cowboy, ride. You follow the westward sky. Ride, cowboy, ride. With the sun rain written on your backside. We emerged from the monochrome, gray city streets, cold as stone. Ride, cowboy, ride. Yeah, don't let this world decide. Ride, cowboy, ride. With the sun, rain, wind on your backside. And one day you'll reach the tide, the place you've longed for most, this whole worldwide. And should that day arrive, you'll have the sun, rain, wind on your backside. You can leave a world of storms behind. Whoa.
That was Ride, Cowboy, Ride by Dana Debolt. Dana, tell us, what is that song about and what was the inspiration to write it?
I would say that song is about, for me, kind of feeling sick of where I'm at. Personally, I'm living in the city still, and I just miss nature. Specifically, I miss BC, and it's about moving away from what's familiar, and no longer satisfying to hopefully greener pastures.
How do people find out more about you and your music? What's the website, socials, and the streaming platforms?
Sure. Instagram is the primary one. My Instagram handle is at the Yee Haw Punk. You can also find me on YouTube, Dana Debolt, Facebook, Dana Debolt Music, Spotify, Dana Debolt, any of the major streaming platforms, Dana Debolt.
We have been in conversation with Dana Debolt. Dana, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much, David.